Hi, I'm McDonald and I'm a reader in International Relations here in the School of Political Science and International Studies. I teach undergraduate courses in global security and Australian foreign policy, and I teach a master's course in foreign policy and diplomacy. So my research is largely in terms of theories of security in international relations and how they apply to issues like environmental change or foreign and security policy in different countries. The foreign policy and diplomacy course is one that I'd want to talk a little bit about because that's obviously something for our graduate students in particular. It's a course that I've taught over the course of the last 6 years, and over time we've developed more and more assessment that's tied to the type of work you might be doing if you're actually working in the diplomatic space. So we have a policy briefing document where students are asked to choose a contemporary political issue facing a particular country with which they're familiar. And they have to make a case for policy change, but in a way that fits the template of a brief. At the end of the year, we finish with a major simulation exercise that goes over the course of 3 hours. So essentially, students are allocated into different states. It focuses on a crisis situation. So in this particular instance, this year it was North Korea and the Korean Peninsula. The idea was that students were allocated one of the states in the involved in the six-party talks, so North Korea, Japan, China, Russia, the United States, and South Korea. So students were allocated into one of those groups with their colleagues and had to prepare in advance. And the idea was they were preparing for participation in the six-party talks as if the states involved had decided to enter into those agreements now, into those discussions now. Essentially, then they have to prepare, demonstrate a real familiarity with the leadership of that particular country, and think about how other states would respond, what sort of things they'll have on their agenda, what sort of outcome they'd be happy with, and try to find ways to work with each other to come up with a solution. The spoiler, of course, is that in the current climate, it was never very likely that students would come up with a solution, but in a way that's more consistent with what's actually happening in the world at the moment. And in the exercise, it forces them to think from the perspective of a particular actor, to walk in their shoes. It forces them to work with each other and to understand just how complicated negotiations are, not just when you have to work with lots of other countries, but also when you have to think about, would I be able to sell this particular agreement to a domestic constituency? Will this be enough to get an agreement, or at least prevent a nuclear apocalypse, for example? And we all go to the pub afterwards, which is quite a nice institution that we've developed over time. So that's the sort of stuff I do in my master's course. Obviously, I'm teaching undergrads as well at the same time, like most of us are. But yes, that's me.